Hey guys, doing a little video today about one of my favorite radio shows of all time, The Phillips File. It's broadcast out of Orlando, Florida. I first heard it when I lived in Orlando, Winter Park actually, and now that I live in Tennessee, 14 years later after that, or 12 or 13, 14 years later, I can listen to it again. Well, for a couple of years I've been listening to it on the iHeartRadio app. Before that I was just able to catch a podcast kind of here and there, but it's kind of nice because they have their own 24/7 channel on it. So just you pull up the app and open it up and you're hearing the latest broadcasted show. And the thing I liked about the Phillips File is the cast of it. Jim Phillips is the host, Jack Bradshaw is the producer, Moira, I believe her title is news director, and then Jana Banana answers the phones. And it's just, they talk about anything. Literally anything, stuff that's going on in their lives, stuff that's going on in the lives of callers. And growing up in radio like I did, when I started listening, I was amazed that the most entertaining parts of the show were where the people that were on the show played games against each other. Like, I always knew that you could have callers call in and do trivia and stuff like that, but it had never really occurred to me much to do it with the people that were on the show, and that was really entertaining. And one of the shows that they play is called Closest to the Pin, and basically it's a numbers-based game where you have to guess a number related to a question, and then whether the caller or the person who's playing, which usually is Jim Phillips. Every once in a while somebody else on the show plays, but there's always a Jim Phillips around because he's the master of this. And basically, for instance, what year was this movie released? And then you guess 1976 or 1981, and if it's 1977, then whoever guessed 1976 wins. It's closest to the pin. There's 5 questions per game, and so the caller goes first while Jim is off in a soundproof booth, which I'm pretty sure is probably just the hallway there at the radio station, and it could be another room, but I doubt it. But anyways, and then Jim comes back in and he does his round, and then they compare the answers. Well, if it comes to a tie, it's decided by time, and recently they have instituted a new 5-second handicap, because Jim wins so often that they thought it would help the caller out if there was this handicap involved. And I thought maybe 5 seconds was too long, and so Jack the other day talked about having Jana log the times of their answers and stuff like that to see if it made any difference. But really, you have to actually check Jack's questions themselves, because the theory is Jack's reading the caller's round for the first time, and so he takes a little bit longer to read it, and by the time he gets to Jim's round, he's seen it before, he's not reading it for the first time, and so he says it faster. So I figured, well, let's just check it out. So I loaded about 10 games worth of Closest to the Pins clips into my computer, edited them apart so that it was only Jack's questions, and then just went through them and compared how long it took between the first round and the second round. And let's look at those results. So what we're looking at here is the purple line is the caller's questions, and the green line is Jim's questions. And Jack reading both. And I've discovered that with single names, small syllabled words, so single syllable words or 2 syllables, and celebrity names, it appears that it's almost identical in what Jack says. I'll let you hear this.
Julianne Moore, Don Cheadle, Heather Graham, Mark Wahlberg, Burt Reynolds, Lady and the Tramp.
And we have more of those right here.
Mask, Silkwood, Mermaids, Moonstruck.
And we even have a list of astronaut names here where you can see that
Buzz Aldrin, Lisa Nowak, Bill Nelson. Neil Armstrong.
Pretty much identical word for word with any kind of single name. The only time that there seems to be a real difference is when there's something that involves anywhere from a 2 to 4 second long question, such as this question about Trivial Pursuit in Montreal.
The game was created in Montreal in what year?
So it's a noticeable difference. This is probably the best look, though, at how random it can be. Right here. What we've got here is a question that lasts about 2 seconds, and
Currently, the game is produced in how many languages?
that is a 0.4 second difference for that one question. But then the very next question in that same round,
An online version was produced in what year?
pretty much identical. So it wouldn't say it negates that 4 second difference, but you can't rely on it for every one. And then this question here is almost 10 seconds long.
Fred Worth, author of the Trivia Encyclopedia, sued the distributors of Trivial Pursuit in 1984. How much in damages did Worth seek?
And that right there is a 1 second difference between those two. So it's very random, and it all depends on your questions. So it's kind of difficult to tell. So there we have it, based upon my simple little study here. If it's a single syllable word, if it's a person's name, it's probably not going to make a big difference in time in the way that Jack reads it. The only time that it really seems to be a substantial time difference is when it's a long sentence, and the longer the sentence, the larger the time difference it appears. So it would really, in order for the 5-second handicap to be a valid thing, it would have to be a category that had 5 very long sentences. That doesn't happen very often. But if it's just movie names, if it's people's names, if it's things that are seemingly short, 5 seconds is a little bit too long. I think, really, Jim just needs some better competition. They should forget the handicap and just see if somebody can step up to the plate and really challenge him. If not, bring on the baloney pony.